The sharp-eyed among you that watched my last video will know I actually made 3 blanks from this one piece of walnut with the intent of making bandsaw boxes. So I'll just give you a quick review of how I made the 3 blanks. This is the second blank. Now, I had a vague idea of the design that I wanted to do. I didn't make any plans or take any measurements. I just made this up as I went along. This was the basic design that I wanted to have on the side of the box. I used a marker so I could see the lines. Sometimes I have difficulty seeing my lines when I draw my wood with just a pencil, especially if it's walnut. Once I made my first 2 cuts, I had to tape the pieces back together with painter's tape temporarily so I could make my second cuts. So I have my basic shape of the bandsaw box. In hindsight, it would probably have been better if I'd made these pieces individually and then glued them together afterwards. It would have been a lot easier, I think. But like I said, I'm making this up as I go along. So I made some relief cuts and I tried some different ways of removing the material. I wanted the sides of the box to be straight down while having the legs sort of flared out. The chisel wasn't working quite how I'd like, so I switched to the angle grinder with Sabertooth Carving Burr, one of their new Whisper bits that you can find on their online store. And you can get 10% off by using the code CAM10 in their online store. Once I refined the shape with the rotary tool, I switched to sanding, first with the angle grinder and then the drill. Then I did some hand sanding just to remove the sharp edges. Now it's time to work on the lid. I had to cut it down to the right size, first of all. I wanted to put a liner on the inside with some different wood, so I'm using some pear I had lying around. It's actually a very nice wood. After my first 45-degree cut, I made multiple cuts with the miter saw in order to sneak up onto the correct size I needed to have a snug fit inside the box. Once I glued the pieces in, I trimmed them down with the handsaw and then sanded the top flush. Once again, with this top piece, I snuck up on the size I wanted, with just making multiple cuts on the miter saw. I used a scrap piece just to hold it in place while I glued them together. I basically just aligned it by feel and eye. Originally, I didn't intend to make a handle on the top, but I had the scrap bit left over, so I decided to make a handle. And my thought on the design was again to match the legs of the box. Again, once I made my first cuts, I taped it back together with painter's tape to make the second cuts and third cuts. So I sanded it off to remove the bandsaw curves. Was very sparing with the glue because I didn't want any squeeze out on the top. I held it in place for a few minutes until the glue was tacky and let it dry. This is simply furniture oil. You have to let it soak in for a little while and then wipe off the excess. It will cure over time. Not bad for not making any plans, just making it up as I go along. I think it turned out really nice. Thanks for watching.